Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. The Democrats are cooked, man. What we are witnessing here is a political party completely trapped in the ideological prison that they built for themselves. You know, the Democrats were once capable of doing this balancing act, putting on this moderate mask when needed, and kind of keeping the radical portions of their party under control, but nowadays the party has been fully captured by the most radical elements. They're totally boxed in. They're unable to pivot and incapable of compromise. You know, this is no longer the party of JFK. This is the party of TikTok communists, BLM arsonists, and the delusional #resistance grifters. And the party at this point is driven by rage, by Trump derangement syndrome, and this delusional belief that they're fighting fascism. And that delusion has become so widespread, it's captured the base, and now the politicians themselves are like ideological hostages, essentially forced in a position to pander to the crazies. And boy, do I have the perfect example to make that point today. This Cory Booker situation. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on here. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, I'm sure you guys have probably seen this. We got Democrat Senator from New Jersey, Cory Booker here, who's now nearly 20 hours deep in his filibuster on the Senate floor as he's performing some weird cult symbolic ritual protesting the Trump administration. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this man looks like a crackhead.
To call to the conscience of this nation, to say, I will not stand for another American to lose their health care for a billionaire. I will not stand for another veteran who's dedicated to stopping the suicide of other veterans to lose their job. I won't stand for the air quality in my community to be made worse because they're letting polluters pollute more. I won't stand for the collective assaults on the Constitution by a man who even the highest judge in our land, a Republican-appointed judge, said stop threatening and bullying other branches of government. When is it going to be enough? My voice is inadequate. My efforts today are inadequate to stop what they're trying to do. We, the people, are powerful. We are strong. We have changed history. We have bent the arc of the moral universe. And now is that moral moment again. It's the moral moment again. God bless America. We need you now. If you love your neighbor, if you love this country, show your love. Stop them from doing what they're trying to do for almost 20 hours. We have laid out what they're trying to do, 20 hours. I want to stand more, and I will, but I'm begging people, don't let this be another normal day in America. Please, God, don't let them take Medicaid away from 10, 20, 30, or 40 million Americans who desperately need it. Don't let them do it.
He's rambling on, eyes wide open like he's been awake for 3 days straight, going on and on with his word salad nonsense about democracy and resistance. The guy unironically looks insane. He looks like he's suffering some drug-induced psychosis. I mean, buddy, get a frickin' grip. You're not Rosa Parks. You're not Nelson Mandela. You're not Martin Luther King Jr. You're not resisting fascism here. You're making a damn fool of yourself. And I think that's plainly obvious for most to see, but also at the same time, let's be completely honest, I don't think Cory Booker has a choice. In fact, I think most of these top-level Democrats seemingly no longer have a choice in the matter. Well, they would have a choice if they had what's called a spine and the ability to actually lead their party, but no, instead, they're just following this old political mantra that they basically need to follow the polls and follow the focus groups. And so basically, they're doing what they're demanded of. You know, the modern left isn't interested in policy or compromise or any kind of functional government. They want theatrics. They want drama. They want performance art. They want screaming matches and hashtags. They want resistance. They want pink suits and cringe signs. They want Nancy Pelosi standing behind the president, ripping up his speech. And that's clearly what we've seen. We've been paying attention to the rhetoric and what's been going on following the Chuck Schumer debacle over and over again. You see it, you hear it. The Democrat base claiming their party's not fighting hard enough. What do you want from your politicians? Well, we want them to fight, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Jasmine Crockett. We want them to resist. And you know, in the past, you might have thought that, well, that must be a minority of the party. Certainly, it can't be the majority of the party that's demanding mindless anti-Trump resistance. But no, that's no longer the case. This is the will of the Democrat base. The data seems to suggest that.
Americans' favorable views of the Democratic Party's brand are at a record low, just 29%. That's compared to 36% for Republicans. It is the lowest ever recorded for Democrats in CNN polling going back more than 30 years. As you can see, the party's numbers dropping a staggering 20 points in just 4 years. The CNN SRSR's poll also found 57% of Democrats and Democratic-leaning voters are more interested in seeing their party leaders stop the GOP agenda, compared to 42% who are more interested in cutting bipartisan deals. It is a big shift from where the party stood at the start of Trump's first term in 2017.
More Democrat voters say they want their politicians to block Republicans than work for bipartisan achievement. This is the new strategy: sabotage and obstruct. That is why people like AOC and Jasmine Crockett are now front and center. These are politicians who don't do anything, they don't build coalitions, they don't achieve legislative success, they just scream into cameras and rack up social media points. It's a pure LARP, as I've been saying forever. The whole Democrat platform has been replaced with cosplay activism, dressing up in fake outrage while pretending they're freedom fighters in some great war against a fascist dictatorship that frankly only exists in their minds. And now you've got the top brass of the party that's left with really no other choice. You know, Cory Booker probably doesn't want to be making a fool of himself on the Senate floor, looking like a damn meth head. But what choice does he have, at least from his perspective? He saw what happened to Chuck Schumer, and so he's saying, you know, I gotta pander to the base. This is what they want. This is what the Democrat people are saying. They're saying they want us to fight. And so I'm gonna go stand on the Senate floor for 20 hours and pretend like I'm doing something. So all the leftoids on Reddit can cheer me on and my political stock will rise. It's obvious what's going on here. It's the perverse incentive structure that we've been talking about. It's not about ideas anymore. It's about who can be the loudest, who can be the most radical, who can draw the most attention. That's the person who wins the prize within the Democrat Party. And boy, is there a prize to win right now. The Democrats are currently leaderless. Nobody knows who's going to run in 2028. It certainly isn't going to be Kamala Harris, I'll tell you that much. I mean, she might run, but she's going to crash and burn like she always does. You know, control of the party is basically up for grabs. That leadership role is what these Democrats are fighting for, and so they're all playing this ridiculous game, attempting to build their political stock, in my opinion, is a very short-sighted strategy. Because very simply, this isn't what Americans want. You think middle-class families trying to put food on the table are impressed by Cory Booker's 20-hour meltdown? You think they care about AOC's TikTok rants or her down with the fascist oligarchy tour with Bernie Sanders? Of course not. Regular people want solutions. They want lower grocery bills, safe neighborhoods, schools that aren't pushing gender cult nonsense on their kids. But the Democrat Party isn't offering any of that. No, instead they've turned into one big, giant orange man bad crusade. And that's clearly what the party has devolved into. Their election strategy basically proves the point. They're not running on ideas. They're not even pretending to anymore. They're running on Trump. Orange man bad. Therefore elect me. They're running on fake scandals, indictments, and impeachments. And then, of course, when they don't get what they want, well, then it's time to burn it all down to the ground. They're running on tantrum. And I mean, to really drive that point home, what the American people want, again, safe streets, good economy, affordable homes, affordable groceries, end to needless conflict abroad. But instead, what are the Democrats doing? Calling for the impeachment of Justices Alito and Thomas.
If we continue down this road, then we will not have a rule of law, because we have people that are currently serving and they're saying things like, ignore the judge's order. What it means to have law and order in this country is that you follow the order and you go through the appeals process, even if you dislike what the judge did. Thank you, and I yield.
I'm going to note that when Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC as we know her, filed articles of impeachment on Justice Thomas and Alito, Ms. Crockett was one of the co-sponsors along with Mr. Cohen, both members of this committee. It does seem interesting that when the shoe is on the other foot, everyone is self-righteous. And I think this is a good example. For the last 3 hours, I have had to listen to one side talking about impeachment as though it was the nature of this hearing. It is not.
Exactly. The politics of tantrum. We didn't get what we wanted in the last election, and we don't control the Supreme Court, therefore, we need to focus on impeaching these justices. Totally disconnected with the will of the people. Like, not even close. The fact is, the Democrat Party is now pandering to the most unstable, radical segment of their electorate. And in my view, I think the rest of America is watching in horror. The Democrats are not speaking to the majority, they're speaking to the very fringe, vocal minority. And I think that is going to be a catastrophic mistake. if it isn't already. I mean, just look at their party's approval ratings. I'm calling it ideological prison. These Democrat politicians have been taken as ideological hostages by the radical base that controls them. And I think Cory Booker is the perfect example. I mean, look at the guy. The guy unironically looks like a hostage. Or maybe even better yet, a crackhead hostage. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.